Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So my name is Billy and just under 18 months ago my fiance and I bought this 18th century convent behind us, which was completely abandoned, neglected and overgrown. So for the last 18 months we've been restoring it, and I thought, seeing as it was the last working day of the year, I would give you guys a full tour of this, I think 32,000 square foot building. So we're going to start in the chapel. I think I've got my key somewhere. Yes, I have. So let's go. So I've got the key. Let's go into the chapel. This chapel was built in 1776 and it's beautiful inside, so come in. Welcome to the chapel, everyone. So this chapel was built in 1776 and it is in the Romanesque style. It's completely panelled in oak and hand painted. So this convent used to be run by an order of nuns, which were called the Cantonesses of St. Augustine of the Mercy of Jesus. And these nuns ran a local hospital and they cared for the sick and needy. So this chapel, as you can see, is missing a few things. It's missing statues, lighting, an altar, and other things. Because when the nuns decided to sell this convent, probably about 15 years ago, they had the chapel deconsecrated and they sold everything, literally everything. The altar, statues, chandeliers. But you can see one thing behind me which is quite interesting. So let's go and talk about that. So as you can see, where the altar used to be in this chapel, there is now an organ. And we were gifted this organ by the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Norwich. And we transported it from England all the way to France, where we currently are, and we rebuilt it over, I think, a 5 or 6 week period. Yeah, I can't actually play the organ, but I'll do my best. I actually don't know any chords. Oh, stiff, a bit stiff, this switch. Okay. That's about as well as I play. Anyway, let's move on, continue this tour. No, wrong switch. So we're now in the inner courtyard of the convent. So this convent was built in 1772. And as you can see, the architecture is very stylistic, of a little bit like a French chateau with a mansard roof and quite large high ceilings and very large windows. It's quite pretty. So yeah, we're going to go back through to the chapel and then we're going to give you an entire tour of the downstairs, and then we're going to make our way slowly upstairs onto the first floor, second floor, and then into the attics, which are quite interesting. So let's keep going. So we've just come from the old chapel and now we're in what they called the new chapel. So I think in the 70s they renovated this room because the old chapel was cold, aging, probably required quite a lot of money to restore. They decided to build a new chapel. So as you can see, we've got some stained glass panels on the windows. We've got a beautiful oak parquet floor, but we've got a suspiciously interesting asbestos ceiling, which needs to be removed. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame that they sort of left the old chapel, but I imagine the community of nuns were probably quite old at that point, and they were probably feeling the cold a lot more than we would. So yeah, I'm going to talk about what's in this room because there's some suspicious looking furniture. So these units, I've probably got about 27 or 28 meter long bar units from a bank. So a bank was closing down in France. I believe it was a Banque de France, and they were selling off all of their bank units. So an antique dealer friend of mine said, would you be interested in these? And I said, yes, absolutely. So I'm going to use these in the future to build a bar, but not in the chapel, obviously. Probably in this room. I'm not sure. We're not quite sure what we're doing with the building yet, but I'll explain a bit more about that later. Let's keep going. So I'm not quite sure what this room was used for. Originally, I think at a later date, it was used for like a reception area for the convent. You would come here to maybe sign in or visit people, I'm not sure, because I think there was a desk here. There were some sort of weird electrics here for opening the gate and also like a speakerphone and things like that. So I assume it was a reception. But since then, we've actually stripped the room out completely because it used to have a false ceiling. And you can see that it was probably about 1.5 meters lower than the original height of the ceiling. It's a bit of a shame because a lot of the original features have been lost due to modernisation of the building. Because here you can see there would have been a beautiful niche with a statue and probably a beautiful oak surround. And probably throughout, beautiful panelling, things like that. So unfortunately, the building has lost a lot of its architectural features over the years, but we're bringing that back slowly. So let's keep going. So here is another room. There's a bit of a theme going on because it's just room after room. But this room's quite interesting. So come with me quickly. You can see there is a lot of things in this room which I'm currently using for storage. This is a 19th century library, all these units, and we're not sure where it came from, but there is enough in here to fill a room of 100 square meters of 19th century oak library, which is quite a rare thing to have. So we're going to use that at some point because we're currently renovating a room and we're going to have a double height library or a 2-story library. And we're doing that at the moment. So this fireplace, which you see here, was completely hidden. They used to have this 1950s or 1960s sort of cabinet covering it. So when we first bought the building, that was one of the first jobs that I did, was expose that. This room's quite large. It's about 75 square meters, which is quite large. And as you can see, they've dropped the ceiling, probably to make it more or easier to heat. At one point, I think there was a fire because on the floor here, someone has set something alight and all the smoke has damaged, well, stained the ceiling. But yeah, it's quite an interesting room. It needs a lot of work, but when it's going to be done, it's going to look absolutely amazing. Let's continue. It's a little bit spooky walking around this building. Obviously it's okay because I've got a cameraman. Thanks, Alex. But when you're alone here, especially after 4 o'clock in the evening, it just gets a little bit weird and you'll notice things. And over the last 18 months, we have noticed a lot of unusual things happening, but can't really explain them. It's just like, I can't really explain it. Anyway, this is a lift shaft which doesn't work. Yeah, this lift was added, I think, in the 1970s. It's quite an old lift. It's got a bit of a Tower of Terror theme, hasn't it? Yeah, it doesn't work. It will need some sort of modernisation at some point. But yeah, like I said, they've done a lot of work to this building over the years and spent an awful lot of money on it, especially in the 70s. But yeah, all that work now is just outdated, not practical. It doesn't work properly or it's dangerous. So we've got a lot of work to do. So we're going to continue now into the refectory. So welcome to the refectory, everyone. The refectory is where the nuns used to eat communally. So there would have been either a very large table down the center or multiple tables. And yeah, it's quite an interesting place because all the paneling is original. It's actually cherry wood. The floor isn't original because it used to be oak planks. But the only problem with this room is the ceiling's been dropped. And because there's been some structural issues with the main beams, they've put in all these RSJs and had to lower the ceiling. So we're currently removing all of that and replacing the RSJs with, well, what we can, oak or chestnut beams. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do. This room's about 120 square meters. It's absolutely huge. I personally think it's a bit too big. So we've got some plans for that, which includes the library project. But yeah, you'd have to watch some other videos to know what we're up to. Let's continue. So welcome to the hallway, everyone. So this is quite an interesting room. Again, the ceiling had been dropped. The floor, which is the original 18th century, well, I don't know what to call it. It's granite, it's flagstones, absolutely amazing. It was covered in 100 millimeters of concrete, which I broke up by hand, trying to save the original floor, and it looks absolutely amazing. We had the beams sandblasted, so we need to now put insulation, plasterboard between that, insulate the walls, all the electrics are done. We've got 2 new doors which are currently on order. Oak, beautiful doors, not these PVC things. But yeah, what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the kitchen. So this kitchen has taken 12 months so far, and start to finish, it's been an amazing journey, a lot of work, but yeah, come in. It's not finished though. So this is the original kitchen to the convent. And the ceiling, you couldn't see the ceiling, it had been lowered. Also, the fireplace, you couldn't see the fireplace. It was completely hidden and blocked up, but we managed to save it and expose it. The original ceiling, like I mentioned, was covered. We've had that sandblasted and all exposed. Brand new concrete slab, underfloor heating, air conditioning. Yeah, it's been a big, big job. But we've got a few things we're waiting on, the carcasses for the rest of the kitchen and worktops, doors, things like that, which are all handmade in oak. So yeah, it's been a fun journey so far. And it's going to look absolutely amazing when it's finished. Looks good already, but this huge unit here, this was originally a vestry cabinet from a cathedral, and it was used to store vestments and things like that, which would have been used inside of a church or cathedral. So it's absolutely amazing. We're using it as a kitchen island. There's a bit of a theme, a little bit of a religious theme throughout the building, reusing things like that from other places. So yeah, looks amazing. I just thought we'd come outside quickly just to give you bearings, because we obviously started in the chapel and now we've ended in the kitchen. So the chapel is, well, this small building attached to the chapel is the old sacristy. We haven't actually been in there yet, but you've got the chapel, and then the room to its left is where the new chapel is, where the bank furniture currently is. And then this door and window is what I believe is the old reception. And then the room here is where the library is currently stored. And then you've got the lift shaft, refectory, hallway, and then obviously the kitchen where you can see where there's new doors and windows installed. But we're about to go into this part of the building, which has the original 18th century staircase and pantry. So let's go. So here we are. This part of the building has the old food storage, pantries, and the main staircase, which is really interesting. I'll show you that in a minute, but let's go to the pantry. So, as you can see, all these shelves and storage units were for storing food, which I believe the nuns had grew themselves in the garden. So, vegetables, potatoes, preservatives, that's the word, yeah. And the pantry doesn't end here, it actually goes upstairs. So let's go upstairs and I'll show you a bit more. So welcome to the main pantry, everyone. So this room is about 50 square meters. Originally it was one very large room without the staircase. And what they've done is they put a floor in to create more space. So all of these shelving units have all got slats in, and that is probably to let air flow between whatever produce they had to keep it fresh, maybe. You can see all of these stain marks, probably from vegetables, I'm not sure. But imagine a convent like this full of between 70, 80 nuns. Imagine how much food they would go through. So a pantry like this is very, very important. Yeah, it's really nice. Let's keep going. So here is another room. So this room is more storage, and it's underneath the original staircase. It's quite hard to see the staircase at the moment, but because of modernisation of the convent, they put in a lot of fireproofing and they put a lot of concrete walls and things like that in. So they've sort of butchered the staircase without destroying it. So I'll explain a bit more about that around this corner. So this is the original 18th century staircase. And this wall here shouldn't exist. This wall here shouldn't exist. And originally it had fire doors. And that is to stop the spread of fire in case of, an emergency, and the nuns could get out safely. But I intend to make this staircase as original as possible by removing the wall, any of the fireproofing, and just put safer electrics and better heating systems in, just so we don't have any issues in the future. So yeah, come with me and I'll show you the beautiful staircase. It's absolutely amazing. You couldn't build anything like this anymore. It's just the amount of work and hours into making a staircase like this by hand is just, yeah, let's go. So we're now on the first floor, everyone. You can sort of see the staircase now a little bit better because it's a bit hidden down there with that big concrete wall that they put in. And it's absolutely splendid. And it goes up again, and then up again into the attics. And it's in remarkable condition. It is solid. Anyway, let's go through and I'll show you the nuns' cells. Before we get to the nuns' cells, that door just opened itself. It did, didn't it? This is a communal toilet room, and there's two of these in the building. And they're identical. So you've got a toilet, very nice. Storage, very nice. But then you have a shower and baths. Is that another shower? Two showers, two baths, and I believe that's probably for laundry or emptying buckets, maybe, I'm not sure. Yeah, very nice. Metal tubs. Doesn't add any spookiness to the building at all. So yeah, there's one here and there's one upstairs as well, which is exactly the same layout and everything. So before we get to the nuns' cells, which are nuns' bedrooms, there's quite a few of them on this floor. There's about 40 in total. I believe there were 2 nuns per bedroom at one point in its heyday. But I want to show you this room first because it's the most interesting. This is Mother Superior's bedroom. And she had the most luxurious room because she had more space than anyone else. So she's got a bedroom with a sink, and then she had also this very large room, maybe a desk, some nice furniture. But as you can see, at some point they have again lowered the ceilings with a false ceiling, losing quite a lot of height. But obviously they did that to try and maintain the heat in the building like this because it would have cost a fortune to heat back in the day. You can see there's a lot of dust, radiators, doors, because we are currently in the midst of renovating. So, I'll show you one of these rooms. This is number 11. This is a typical nun cell. A sink, a basin, mirror, a plug, a light, and that's it. There would have been 1 or 2 beds in this room. Once you've seen one cell, you've seen them all, because they're all identical. So, yeah, there's about 22 cells on this floor in total. And yeah, I'll just show you another one again. This one, for example. You see it's exactly the same as the one we were just in. Same sort of layout. Enough room for 2 beds. But at the moment, you can see behind me, there is a huge pile of rubble. And this is because we are currently renovating. So this doesn't seem like much at the moment, but give us a few months and this will really be transformed because we're currently making a double-story library. And yeah, we're sort of in the demolition stage, but it will come together. And it's really interesting to see how much timber, especially oak, went into building this place. Probably an entire forest. Let's go. So we're now on the first floor. You can see the lift shaft. This actually goes over 3 levels. So ground floor, first floor, and second floor. But I think the lift will be a very valuable asset to the building if it's modernised in the future. Through here is the old infirmary. And we have converted this infirmary into a modern office. So we've got this huge room, we've got a kitchen, we've got separate offices. I think there's about 6 or 7 separate offices which we use for storing equipment, editing, lots of things like that. So this space was quite modern when we first bought the building. And all we've done is really knock down a few walls and redecorate, change the floors. And it's a little bit too modern for the building, but we needed space to run this channel essentially. So it's a great place, but I think in the future what I'm going to do is, when we get to this stage, is maybe renovate it and make it more sort of similar to the rest of the building, because we've got very high ceilings above this lowered ceiling, and yeah, there'll be a lot more character, I think, if we took down all these walls and exposed it a bit more. So yeah, I'm not sure what it will become, but maybe more rooms, extra bedrooms, I don't know. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Not spooky at all. So I'm just making my way back now to the main staircase so we can go up to the next floor and I can show you some more cells and more interesting things about the building. So now we're on the top floor, everyone. We're going to go this way, and there's another 20-something cells. Here is the access to the attic space on this part of the building. We're going to come back to that because I want to show you the actual main attic, and that also includes the bell tower and things like that. So let's go. As you can see here, exactly the same again, the toilet block, which is quite interesting. And then probably another 20 or 22 cells, which are basically exactly the same, if not slightly lower ceilings, but that's all that changes. So I want to show you guys something very interesting that we discovered, I think, within the first month of owning the convent. So in here, an unusual room, mainly for storage, but we noticed there was a void. And it took us a while to work it out, but here is a hidden room. And inside this room, it has wallpaper. It even has its own cupboard for storage. And yeah, it's quite interesting. So we've got a few theories about this room. It could have been used during the Second World War to hide people, or much earlier would have been during the Reign of Terror in France, which was the de-Christianisation of the Catholic Church in France during the French Revolution. And when this building was built, Marie Antoinette still had her head. So it's pre-French Revolution. So it could have been used as a priest hole, possibly. But I think possibly later to hide people during the war. But yeah, let's keep going. So here we are again. This is the top floor of the lift shaft, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And then here, we'll make our way through into the main attics. Which is quite an interesting space, because you've got all of these old storage rooms and just lots of old furniture. I mean, you've got a beautiful wardrobe, and I do believe we've got the door for it somewhere. Is it missing a door? Or have I got the door? I don't know. We're not missing the door, are we? No, the door's here. That's good. Let's keep going. You can see it's quite a large attic, used mainly for storage. There's an old pulley system, which was designed for, because originally there used to be a dormer here with, they could lift stuff up into the attic using this winch, but that's long gone now. You've got beautiful old pine paneling, which has all been stored up here. I imagine this is all from the interiors downstairs, which is an absolute shame, but it's obviously seen better days. And it's literally everywhere. This is where the bell on the bell tower used to be automated, and this is what contained, or I imagine, a clock. And weights went down into the floor below, and then it had a pulley system which would have rung the bell, automated. So I'm not sure how old that is, but it's probably a later addition to the convent. You've got Wheel of Fortune or bingo, very creative. Yeah. That looks like a saddle horse to store stuff on. And then here you have the bell tower. And when the chapel was deconsecrated, the bell was also sold. But we have reinstated a bell, a huge bronze bell, about 120 kilograms. Which sounds absolutely fantastic. And then here is the vaulted ceiling of the chapel, which needs a little bit of a clean, but it's actually in great condition. The roof above the chapel is less than 20 years old, so that's fantastic. Let's keep going. So we're making our way back now to the main staircase. And I want to show you the last part of the building, which is the original attics. So let's go. So it's a bit of a shame really, because you'll see that the staircase actually continues from this point and it's meant to have been seen. But I imagine, because it would have been a nightmare to heat this place, they've blocked it all up. So when it comes to restoring the staircase, we'll have this all re-exposed and done properly. So it's a bit dodgy up here, everyone, because there's a lot of insulation and it's just been spread about to try and make the building more efficient to heat. But yeah, at some point we will need to clear this out. You can see old panelling, beautiful old panelling, chairs, all sorts of things. Places to hang your laundry. This is a little bit suspect because it looks like someone's been living here, but a long time ago. Yeah, doesn't make much sense, but yeah, there's crates, all sorts, small paintings, more panelling. But what's fantastic about this is you can see the condition of the roof. And it's been redone at some point, but they've used stainless steel crotchets. And these crotchets hold the slates on the roof. And it means that this roof will last a long time. So yeah, that's one good thing about the building. Absolutely amazing, but yeah, needs a clean out. So I want to talk about information quickly. What did we pay for the place? So we paid 462,000 euros, which I think was a bargain, but there's also parts of the building we haven't shown you. There are 7 individual apartments. There's also a garage, there's an extension, but there's also 2 acres of garden in the center of this town, which is absolutely amazing. There's a grotto, there's a small orchard and things like that. So it's quite an interesting property, and I thought I'd take the time and try and show you a bit more. But if you are interested in our renovation and our future projects, don't forget to subscribe. We'll really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve, and I'll see you all next year.